We're going to talk to Davis.
Good.
Hi, Davis. You were on the line. What would you like to talk about today?
Hey, well, I just saw that your topic today was why are you Christian? So I guess that's kind of what I'd like to talk about today.
Awesome. Tell us why you're Christian.
Okay, well, yeah, first of all, thanks for having me on. Thanks for taking my call, and happy third Sunday of Advent, everybody. Today is a day to reflect on why we have joy in our lives, and I hope everybody has something to be joyful about in their life.
I do too.
But to get then to more, to get more to then the point was I was an atheist for probably about 10 years or so, and I had a realization that my epistemology was focused very much on the natural world, right? The use science, things that are purely demonstratable, purely measurable, falsifiable, if you will, I guess, right? But that setup, that epistemology, almost necessarily excludes the existence of anything supernatural. Since we are beings rooted in the natural world, how could we functionally tell the difference between a supernatural being acting through the natural world or just the natural world acting through the laws of science that we have discovered?
How can you tell the difference with your new epistemology?
Well, I can't say for certain that I can. That's absolutely true.
Well,
but I guess what it is then was switching to a more philosophical epistemology helped me truly hear out the arguments for theism in a way that I was incapable of hearing them before.
I'm absolutely lost because I'm not aware of any problem with my epistemology that is solved by Christianity.
Well, I guess let me put a question to you then. How can you be sure the supernatural doesn't exist using only science?
Yeah.
I'm not only not sure. Don't say exactly. Let me finish. My position is. Thank you. My position is that we can't be absolutely certain about anything, and at no point have I asserted that the supernatural isn't real. I've asserted that I can't demonstrate that the supernatural is real. The people who are claiming they're supernatural haven't met their burden of proof.
How? Well, here's, I guess, then just going on something you said of demonstrating that the supernatural is real. What sort of a demonstration are you looking for?
I have no idea. Somebody needs to make a claim about the supernatural and then demonstrate that it's true.
Okay, so I guess then my question is, that's not quite what I'm getting at. My question is, if you are, is this purely a scientific demonstration you're looking for? Is this a logical demonstration that you're looking for? What kind of demonstration would you be looking for that would be convincing?
It depends on what the claim is. Supernatural is a term that isn't
the claim is God real.
Supernatural is a term that isn't well defined. It means so many different things to so many different people. So you said, let's go with the claim, is God real? But God may or may not be supernatural. Define God.
Well, let's use the classical theist definition of the term God then, right? An omniscient being that exists outside space and time.
Which still may or may not be supernatural. But in any case...
No, he exists outside of space and time. By definition, he's supernatural because he exists outside the natural world.
The God of classical theism is the omnimax. It doesn't tell you his ontology is outside of space and time. But in any case, let's say that you're asserting that there's a God outside of space and time. I have no idea what outside of space and time means. I have no demonstration that outside space and time is actually a real thing that could be, that there's even any possibility. I don't have no demonstration that the concept makes any sense. So if you're asking me what would convince me that a God exists, my answer has been for decades, I don't know. But if there is a God, that God should know what would convince me and should be capable of producing whatever evidence should convince me. The fact that a God claim does not come with its own, here's the way to test this scientifically, or even if it's possible to test it scientifically, is a problem with the claim, not the epistemology.
Well, okay. One thing, can you just repeat that for me real quick? Sorry. I got my son running around up here.
The fact that a God claim doesn't come with, here's how to test it scientifically. Doesn't.
Okay.
It's not a problem.
Sorry to cut you off here. I just remembered what I was about to say.
It's a problem with the God claim, not with epistemology. You're saying that you were an atheist and that you stopped being an atheist because atheist epistemology is flawed. Well, first of all, there is no single atheist epistemology. Second of all,
my epistemology as an atheist was flawed. That was what I had said.
Sure, but so even if your epistemology was flawed, that in no way demonstrates the truth of any particular religion or Christianity. So when you say you were an atheist,
I did not make that claim either, though.
Okay, wait 1 sec. So what I'm intrigued in right now is your current epistemology is evidently the type of epistemology that can prove supernatural things exist, right? Must be.
I did not make that claim either.
Okay, so
see, this is now you're seeing the frustration that I had, Shannon, because the problem with his epistemology was that it couldn't prove the supernatural, but his new one doesn't either.
That's what I was trying to get.
No, that's also not what I said. I said I was using new methods to logically arrive at a conclusion that had previously been impossible under my other epistemology, right? So if you go about answering the question, does God exist, using...
So your epistemology can or can't prove your epistemology, you Davis, your epistemology.
How do we define proof?
Or is it? I'm almost done getting through this question.
She's halfway through her sentence.
Davis, your epistemology, your personal epistemology can or cannot provide proofs for supernatural claims. But yes, that's just a yes or no question.
Okay, define proof for me, please.
Such that it
can your epistemology rationally justify the supernatural, existence of the supernatural?
Rationally justify, I would say yes, it can. I think there are philosophical arguments that are logically consistent, that the premises have not been rebuttingly defeated sufficient to say that you can definitively say the supernatural does not exist. And these claims assert that, yes, the supernatural does in fact exist.
No, what you just said is that you have an epistemology where nobody can disprove the supernatural. And that's, now we're back to whether or not something is false. I'm sorry that you didn't use those fucking words, but interrupt me one more time to tell me that I'm wrong about what you just said.
Well, then stop being wrong about what I said, and I will.
How about you go fuck yourself? How about that?
Okay.
Merry Christmas, guys.
Okay.
No, you don't have to run away. You don't have to run away. It's
I'm not
because
running away. I'm still right here. But like that was.
You are running away.
I have been trying to be very careful in my language here, so that I'm not coming over my keys. So to speak.
Would you shut the fuck up and stop policing my language and listen?
I'm not policing your language here, Matt. You can say whatever you want. It's your show.
You are, and you're repeatedly interrupting. I get half a sentence out and you interrupt. Shannon gets half a sentence out and you interrupt. Are you capable of actually listening to and thinking about what I'm actually saying to see if it fits, rather than assuming that because I didn't use the exact same words that the content is somehow flawed? Can your epistemology...
The words you're using.
Jesus fucking Christ. No, I'm done. Shannon, you're up.
Our Lord and Savior.
Okay. All right.
No, not our fucking Lord and Savior. My God. Are you capable of having a conversation?
Your Lord.
I'm here.
Savior.
Like, you go ahead. I thought there was a gap there for me to get in. I thought you were looking for a response.
Davis, me and you, we're going to give this a try. Me and you, Davis. We're going to give this a go.
Go ahead. I will be absolutely quiet while you lay everything out for me, please.
About $100 you won't.
Okay, guys. So you left. I'm trying to wrap my head around what you're saying here. So you're saying that you left atheism because you felt your epistemology as an atheist was such that it didn't even allow room for the supernatural, and you saw that as a flaw. Is that a fair statement, summation, even if it's not verbatim?
Yes. Yes, that is a fair summation. I found that I was relying exclusively on the scientific scientific
now
thinking
you have a
to try to prove the supernatural.
got ya. Okay, so now you have a new epistemology that leaves room for the supernatural within this epistemology. Still can't definitively prove, like elevate to the level of truth that a supernatural claim can't be proven. But you feel as though there's something about this specific bent towards philosophical analysis that at least allows room for it through argumentation, such that you feel as though you'd be justified in believing it.
Essentially, yes. Again, this kind of defines how we are each using the word proof. I think a logically consistent argument where all the premises are true and leads to a logically consistent conclusion is proof. Okay. But I think a lot of the times we kind of talk past each other in saying that like proof is something that can only be verified scientifically.
Gotcha. Okay. So I don't think that that's necessarily the case, because science itself is just, it's a branch of philosophy, right? You need philosophy to be able to do science. It's just a way of enacting philosophy in the world. So I'm with you there. So now what I'm trying to get towards is, so you felt that this is now a better philosophy. Great. Good for you. Cool. Awesome. What about it made you elevate yourself to believer? So you hit an argument, right? So you met an argument and you thought to yourself, this one's the one. Now I'm justified in believing that it is the case that there is a God. What was that?
Yeah. So it's not just like one thing, right? Like what changes a person to do an entire 180 on a question as big as does God exist certainly doesn't come down to just one factor, right? So I guess like the one that I kind of lead with in these things is like the argument from change, right? We observe change.
In the form of like it sounds a lot like the contingency argument for me, right? Like can't be turtles all the way down sort of thing.
Yeah. Like, essentially, yeah, they're very similar, yes.
Okay, so there needs to be something that did the first actualizing of the thing that was actualized.
Yeah, essentially, is why is there anything at all instead of nothing whatsoever?
Right. I find so many belief systems kind of like boil down to that. Like that's where
it's a big question.
That's where God ends up fitting in for a lot of. That's where God
took you long enough, Matt. Hey, how you doing?
Nope, guys.
No, it didn't take me long enough. I called it out when it happened.
Yeah, over the phone, these things are going to happen a little bit, Matt. I think I was being quite respectful there.
I didn't say you weren't going to be quite respectful. You said that you were going to be absolutely silent. But anyway, it's keep going. You're doing great.
So you got that's I think where it hides a lot for people. Like you get to the point that you have to ask the question, why is there anything at all? Right? Like why does anything exist, period? And for you feel as though the answer to why I have the answer to why anything exists, period. The answer to why anything exists, period, is probably this God, because that explains the first thing that happened that started causing other things. And my answer is, well, that's not sufficient for me to label whatever that is God, because it comes with all this other like baggage that's shipped in as well too, right? Because you're not just saying, okay, you can label whatever that first thing is whatever you want. Like you can call it Santa, you can call it the first thing, you can call it God. But then when you call it God, you get all of this other stuff that comes along with it. So I'm reticent to believe that your entire belief system was built on just saying, well, there must be a first mover. After that, you built something else upon it, right? Because you said you were a Christian.
Absolutely.
Or am I wrong about that? Right. So
no, you're exactly right when you say that.
Right. Okay. So
there's can I just jump in here?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So that again, there are only like those arguments only get you so far. There's only so many things that you can tell about this first mover, if you will, this pure actuality with no potential, this contingency without a contingency, that you can get to using your like natural human ability to reason, right? You can get that this is something that exists outside of space and time because they created space and time, You can get that this is a mind because it has to be immaterial as it exists outside of space and time. And the only things that we know that are immaterial are minds, or then things like numbers that can actually take something from a state of nothing to a state of something. To actually get to like the idea of the Christian God, now you have to start, that basically only gets you to monotheism, right? So that leaves you really kind of three options based on the divine revelation that we as humans have claimed to have at this point. And that's Judaism, Christianity, or Islam. And like looking at the historical figure, Jesus Christ kind of answers that question for you. So I was convinced by the historical claims of Jesus Christ to get to being Christian.
So I have a lot of problems with those historical claims. I'm not sure if we'll have time to go into that today, but we can talk about it at some other point in time. But can you see, like, can you at least make room for seeing how I think that, one, that's a massive leap from saying, well, there must have been something that caused everything. And I don't even necessarily, I'm also not just conceding that, because I think that there's, physicists that would even argue that potentially, like, there's a multiverse, or that there's like, or that things maybe might be cyclical. Like there's so much room there that I don't know the answer, that I wouldn't even be willing to just concede that there has to be that answer there to begin with in that space. Then to jump from that to Christianity is a massive leap. Can you see, like, ignoring whatever differences you think that we may have in epistemology, because you actually don't really know mine, how I wouldn't make that leap? Can you see how it's
absolutely,
rational?
I understand why that leap is not just a given, right? I feel like from the logical arguments, I think it is reasonable to conclude. What's that, sorry?
Do you think that my position is also rational?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so
I think there's very good reasons to be atheist, and there's very good reasons to be theist.
Right. Okay. So
that's why this question's been going on for as long as humans have been around, right? Like, no one is irrational for taking either position. People can be irrational because their epistemology is wrong.
Right. So you thought that there was a flaw?
You just contradicted yourself.
How so?
I'll sit back.
Because you said nobody's irrational for taking either position, but people can be irrational if their epistemology is wrong. But you have to use different epistemologies to get to each answer, and each answer is mutually exclusive, which means somebody's epistemology is wrong and somebody is irrational, even though you asserted that nobody is.
No. I didn't assert that nobody is irrational. People are irrational all the time. But,
I'm done because Shannon gets everything right, and every time I clarify what you actually said, I'm just wrong. So I'll go back to playing chess.
No. I'm not saying you're wrong here. I'm just saying that you're misunderstanding what I'm getting at.
I'm not wrong. I'm just misunderstanding. There, right? I'm done.
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, Davis.
Hi.
Hi. So you agree that I'm rational to hold my position. You think you're also rational to hold your position. And Matt just pointed out something that I was going to kind of meander my way to, but pointed it out like he got there before I did, which is that, both of us can't be right, though. So since both of us can't be right.
No, you can be rational in being wrong.
Okay. So you would say that you do think my epistemology is flawed then?
Like you said, I don't know the ins and outs of your epistemology entirely. When I make a statement, like, I have to put a topic when I come to call in and say atheist epistemology. So I guess, right, like, just exclusively relying on. Yeah, like, and that's, like, you can have very good reasons. Like, there are lots of atheists that I think are very intelligent and very rigorous in their study. Like, Matt is one of them. You sound like you're one of them. So, like, I would be just irrational to say that you do not have good reasons for believing what you believe. Like, of course, that would be silly.
But when you were calling in today, you were calling in because you wanted to talk about the flaws in atheist epistemology. So I guess, is the only flaw that you can see in atheist epistemology based on this conversation the fact that it doesn't, in your mind, leave room for the supernatural?
Yeah, I guess maybe a better heading for it would be naturalist epistemology, but I think atheism and naturalism are very closely related subjects. They're kind of nested subjects. So I guess, right, like, if you're solely relying on, what's that, sir?
At all. There's so many atheists that wouldn't agree with you at all on that. Like, we're not a monolith, right?
For
I know
sure.
A lot of very
For
supernatural.
sure. I'm saying I see them as very nested subjects. Yeah.
Okay.
Because
So
I think it's very hard to be a naturalist and not be an atheist, although all thumbs are fingers, but not all fingers are thumbs, right?
sure, I guess. So like, I guess what I'm getting confused about is where you see the flaw in somebody like me coming to that conclusion, because you've already agreed that it's a rational conclusion. So you think somebody can be very
Oh,
smart and
absolutely.
come to that conclusion. So
Mhm.
I guess where's the flaw? Aside from the fact
I
that I
think the
don't,
flaw
my
is
epistemology
in an
maybe doesn't.
over-reliance on natural evidence to prove the supernatural, right? So you're
So
always just like, prove God exists, prove God exists. You make essentially, like, I guess this is a pattern that I see. I'm not going to hold every atheist to it, but this is a pattern that I see in that the kind of proof that most atheists are looking for is a natural, verifiable proof of the supernatural. But those two terms, by definition, are at odds with each other.
Well, we know that most people would know that like science really can't prove the supernatural. It's not the same playground, but even you required proof, right? You required a philosophical proof. You still required some form of proof. You said you were an atheist for 10 years. You didn't just wake up one morning and be like, you know what, I just changed my mind. You changed your mind because proof was provided to you that was sufficient. It was sufficient such that you were willing to change your position, right? So
it was a series of dominoes, yeah.
Right. So the argument that you're making seems to be that you think that atheism is some form of scientism more so, and that you don't like that.
No, not exclusively. I'm just noticing a pattern among most average atheists that there is this desire for
to me and Matt, though.
falsifiable natural evidence. So I'm not trying to put that on you guys. I just need to put a topic when I call into the show. So that was the topic I picked.
We have like a pile of people waiting. I've enjoyed. Why don't you call back one day? Maybe one day when I'm hosting with Paul. Make me a commitment. Call back one day when I'm hosting with Paul from Apologia, and we'll talk with you about Jesus, because I want to hear more about how the history of Jesus is what led you specifically to Christianity. So Davis, we will let you go. Thank you for the conversation. Call back one day when I'm hosting with Paul. Keep an eye out because we want to talk to you about that. Okay? Deal?
Okay, sounds great. I'll do my best to keep an eye out. You know what? I'll even subscribe to your channel, Matt, but I'm not going to send you $100.
Good job. Get that subscription. All right, Davis. Have a good rest of your day.
All right, you guys take care. Have a great Sunday, guys. Bye.
All right. I don't understand the point that was we're all rational. I don't understand the point. I don't. Oh, covering that.
I despise the notion of someone calling in to say, I used to be in epistemology, and then I used to be an atheist, but then I found out that atheist epistemology is wrong. Oh, wait, not atheist epistemology. My epistemology was wrong. So I changed my epistemology because I think that most average atheists are looking for natural evidence for the supernatural. Hello, natural evidence is all we fucking have. If there's something supernatural, it must impact the natural world in some detectable way. Otherwise, you are claiming to detect that which is undetectable. Do you have a supernatural detector? No, you don't. If you have a supernatural detector, please present it. Well, I'm just making a logical argument. I think that you're looking for objectively verifiable evidence. Yes, I am. Because if you claim to detect the supernatural, and you define the supernatural as something that isn't naturally detectable, then you now have a detector that nobody fucking knows about. How do you know that your supernatural detector is reliable? Well, it's not a detector. It's not proof like that. I'm just reasoning that there must be this. There can't be a sequence of forever, and that leads us to this thing that must be an immaterial mind. No. Once you get back beyond what we're able to investigate, merely speculating about the ontology of what is responsible for it is still pure speculation. You don't get to throw out the most reliable epistemology because it doesn't conveniently. The problem with the supernatural isn't a problem with sound epistemology. If sound epistemology is insufficient to demonstrate the existence of the supernatural, you don't throw out the fucking epistemology, because now you are trying to find an epistemology that leads you to something that you want. You want there to be something supernatural. You feel some need for that thing that's supernatural. And so you're going to go find an epistemology that works for it. This is the absolute definition of what it means to lead the evidence where you want it to go. If you want there to be something supernatural, you will find something that you can call epistemology that will get you there. But the truth is, not all epistemologies are the same. They're not all on the same footing. They're not all as sound. They do not all demonstrate consistently reliable results. The epistemology that he's using to get to Christianity is garbage, demonstrably garbage, that lets him get to what he wants to be true. Oh, well, I think you atheists, you're just relying on natural evidence. Yes. Yes. What other evidence can you present? Because you didn't present any, and you didn't present an epistemology, and you didn't define terms. And every time I tried to point out the consequences of what you literally said, I'm wrong. I'm just wrong. I'm just wrong. Yeah, no, you're not wrong, Matt. You just misunderstood. You just misunderstood. Well, then you are shit at explaining things. Anyway.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jimmy Snow, executive producer of The Line, and the rumors are true. Forrest Valkai is, in fact, a hostage in my basement. If you would like to contribute to his freedom one day, you can do so by supporting us over on Patreon or becoming a channel member. There are specific tiers for specific shows or the channel at large. You can also send us super thanks. Those are great. You can like, comment, and subscribe. Also, fudge the algorithm. Go to one of these things. The algorithm doesn't matter. It thinks it knows you better than we do. Better than you do? I know you better. Hank. There's a bunch of people named Hank. I just freaked way out. Okay, go to one of these.